Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John, this is many a true nerd, and welcome to Europa Universalis 5, which is like Europa Universalis 4, but +1. And yes, before we get into any more shocking revelations like that, I do need to formally declare, though hopefully it's already extraordinarily obvious, this here is a sponsored video, because, yes indeed, once again, the Paradox Money Truck has decided to come round and give me a giant pile of money to play a game that I absolutely 100% would have played anyway. But you know what? Ted likes the expensive dog biscuits, so I'm not gonna say no. So yes, let's just dive on in on this occasion, because would you believe there's a lot to get your teeth into here. So yes, just like Europa Universalis 4, we have got a huge map to work with here, basically covering, yes, the entire bloody world. Unlike Europa Universalis 4 though, the start year is a 1337, meaning, yeah, things are going to be a bit different to this game's predecessor. Over in Europe, England and France are about to kick off the 100 Years' War, which obviously lasted 116 years. But that wasn't as catchy a name, so we just kind of pretend 16 of those years don't count. And then there's this tiny group called the Ottomans. They seem pretty small though, so they're probably nothing to worry about. There's the Grand Traders of Kilwa over in East Africa, the gold-rich Mali Empire still doing us somewhat well in 1337, or you could just mosey over the Atlantic and just play with some of the American nations. However, today I've decided that yes, I'm going to take a look at a nation that exists in a very interesting spot on the map. And that is Sicily. Because you see, Sicily starts off as surrounded by potential enemies. Naples, the north of you, they hate you, and they would like nothing more than to eat your nation and absorb it into theirs. Meanwhile down south, of course, we've got Tunis. Again, more powerful than you, and very keen to destroy you. However, we've also got some friends nearby. The Papal States themselves are guaranteeing my independence, as is the much more powerful nearby nation of Aragon, so yes, there's a very real possibility that at some point Sicily could be pulled into a very big war. And just in case that wasn't exciting enough, yes, I've also got some vassals over here in modern day Greece, basically right on the front line for any chicanery that might be about to take place with the Ottomans, so I feel like, yes, Sicily is going to run into some trouble sooner or later. Oh, and on top of that, as we jump into the game proper, yes, you actually start the game losing money. So if I just don't do anything, within 3 years, my nation will be bankrupt. And one final thing, which is, yes, Mount Etna is just floating around here, but I'm sure we don't need to worry about that in the slightest. So yes, the potential risk of incoming lava, that we can't do much about. The economy, however, that we probably should look at, because oh yeah, basically the first thing you do in this game is look at a spreadsheet, so oh Europa Universalis 5, me and you are going to get on just fine. So obviously we have got income on the left, expenses on the right. So right now, yeah, the biggest source of money is taxation. And if you want to, yeah, you can just automate tax, which basically just means keep the tax rate as high as it will go without people becoming actively upset with you. Though, okay, right now, the clergy don't seem to be paying any tax. We should look into that. I feel like you guys should be contributing. So yeah, if we want anyone to pay any more tax without them rising up against me, we'll need to, like, you know, make them happier so they're more willing to pay taxes. We'll get to that in just a minute. Alternatively, we could just print more money, which is fine because, yeah, you know, you're always expected to print a little bit of money, as long as you don't print too much because, yeah, print too much and in just a second, there we go, inflation kicks in. So you can print some money, just not too much. So let's turn our attention to estates, basically representing those groups we were just trying to tax, because if I give these guys privileges, they'll be happy. And if they're happy, they'll be willing to accept a higher tax rate. However, when you give someone a privilege, the other groups sometimes don't like it. So, yes, I could give, like, you know, this lovely estate privilege over here to the aristocracy, but as a result, the clergy don't like it, the bourgeoisie don't like it, and the commoners don't like it a tiny bit. So, yes, you've got to make sure you're not, by mistake, knackering your happiness with someone else. And even more on top of that, yes, when you make decisions like this, you are slowly modifying the entire shape of your society. So, on this occasion, yes, that little policy I was just looking at, that would lead to our society slowly moving towards serfdom. That being one of a great many values that our society needs to make a choice on. So, yes, if I were to invest heavily in serfdom, then my peasants would produce more raw goods. That's good. But as a result, yeah, their food consumption also goes up a bit. If I say, no actually, I want to free subjects, then, yeah, pop promotion speed will go up, monthly prosperity goes up, food consumption goes down. But yeah, we get less tax from the peasant estate. So, yes, basically, everything in this game is connected to everything else. Like, nothing exists in isolation. Everything has a knock-on effect to your society, your economy, everything. This game is complicated. But okay, here's a fairly harmless one. Noble Navy. Which boils down to, yeah, just telling our nobility that maintaining the navy is basically their job. No one else really is too fussed about that, because that's just a job they don't have to do. That means, yeah, my navy will be cheaper to maintain, and also make progress in the direction of a naval society value. Which strikes me as a very good idea, because I am, you know, an island, surrounded by very powerful enemies with much bigger armies than me. So, just stopping them from ever making it to Sicily, that seems like a good idea. Plus on top of that, that benefits, yeah, maritime presence, a trade range, etc, etc. So, okay, now that's something we can make use of. So okay, I've given everybody the smallest and most inoffensive privilege I could find. And yes, tax has definitely gone up a bit. However, it's nowhere near enough, is it? And just whacking down expenditure's not going to do the job either, so let's dig into, yes, the real beating heart of this game, which is economy, production, trade, etc. So basically, Sicily is made up of loads of tiny regions. But not all regions are created equal. The city of Palermo here is the centre of my empire, and it's generating a very good solid amount of tax, though, yes, that's just like, you know, the amount of money in society. The amount I get is a function of the tax rate that we're currently trying to manipulate. If, however, we just nip to, yes, the other side of Sicily, say, we've got more exciting sexy cities here. However, there is one small problem. You may notice that this city is generating a pathetically small amount of money next to Palermo. And it's not just because it's a smaller city, it's because of, yes, one of the single most important mechanics to get your heads round here. And that is control. The short version is, the centre of your empire, you have absolute control over that, so money that circulates inside this city, you get to tax it at 100% efficiency. Over here in this town, we've only got 37% control. And as a result of that, 2/3 of all the potential taxable income is simply being left on the table. We're not getting that tax because our tax collectors just like, don't know about it or something. So naturally a big priority is finding ways to increase control. One of the most obvious is proximity. Basically, the closer you are to the centre of the empire, the more control there is. But proximity is dynamic. For example, I could just build a nice road to link, you know, the centre of the empire to this town over here. But that's going to cost, yes, like 2/3 of our entire treasury. Is that necessarily a good use of money? Probably not, to be honest, no. Let's focus on, yes, an easier one we could do immediately, which is, rather than like, you know, spending all the money building giant infrastructure, how about we just send someone over there to say, hey, guys, can't help but notice no one's been paying their taxes, because that is precisely what my cabinet can do. So, let's just pick, yes, a new cabinet minister, and this chappie here, nice and young, would be a very good administrator, because, yes, basically, they could be good at administration, good at diplomacy, or good at warfare. And now the chappie has been appointed, we can give him a job. And yes, obviously, you know, the stuff that is administration related, that's highlighted in gold because that's what he's good at, and there we flipping go. Increase province control. So yeah, I could basically send him to one of the 4 provinces that makes up Sicily, each province being made up of, yeah, like say 4 or 5 tiny counties. And yeah, by far the biggest prize is Messina up here, which has a potential tax base of 10, so yeah, we could be getting a fair bit more money out of this location. And I've also got a second cabinet slot, so yeah, while we're just improving control and thus tax takeover on this side of the island, over here, right in the centre of my empire, you, sir, are just going to develop this province to make it slowly more and more valuable. So okay, put all that together, the tax income should just be slowly ticking up over time. We've done some good, sensible investments in our territory there, but now it's time to get to the sexy stuff. The reason, in fact, I wanted to play as Sicily at all today. Let's just go over to, yes, the raw materials map here, showing what each tiny county is actually producing, because, oh, Sicily has got some sexy stuff here, like, for example, multiple territories producing silk. To the west, meanwhile, sugar and marble and wine, so, yeah, I feel like potentially there's got to be some good, valuable stuff we could do with this in order to make some money. And here we go, speak of the devil. Just mosey over to the production tab, and yeah, the game will usefully highlight you whatever buildings you could build that would generate the most profit. And a Tailor's Guild is right at the top of the list right now. So yeah, the way the Tailor's Guild works is you have to insert a certain material in order to get out a certain volume of what it produces. So yeah, this is going to work out perfectly for me. If you insert a relatively small amount of silk, you get a relatively large amount of fine cloth. And on top of that, you can enhance it with, say, you know, a bit of alum, a few dyes, in order to make it even flipping more of it. So, yeah, basically, we are well set up to produce a giant pile of fine cloth, which we can then either use ourselves or sell to somebody else. But yes, you may recall earlier I was mentioning control, and how in a perfect world, you would build everything, at least at the start of the game, at the centre of your empire. After all, if you do that, you're going to be able to tax it properly. However, if I take, yes, the Tailor's Guild we've already got in the centre of my empire, and make it a little bit bigger by investing in it further, all that's going to happen is the potential profit might rise by 0.96 golds. If, however, I were to invest in a Tailor's Guild over in Messina, then the profit instead would be 4.09. And yes, there's a very special reason for that. Another very cool thing about Sicily. Welcome to the exciting, sexy world of markets, because, yes, in this game, you sell goods into particular markets. And right now, Sicily is very literally divided between 2 of them. There is one market set up here in Naples. Meanwhile, Tunis over the water, they've got a market too. And me and Tunis hate each other. But you know, the merchants don't care about that. They will happily sell to willing buyers. Meaning, in the centre of my empire, basically all of my buying and selling on the market is in the Tunis markets. But that might not stay the case. Plain and simple, every individual county will make a choice as to which market it wants to engage with. Whichever basically is best at getting at the stuff it wants to get. And every market's got its own set of conditions and specifically prices. So here in Naples, say, the price of paper is really low. They've produced too much and there's nobody buying it. However, what they're lacking is, oh yeah, fine cloth. That's why we need to be, yes, producing the cloth in Messina and not over here in Palermo. Because if we made it over here, it would be going into the wrong market. Oh, and speaking of missing goods, right. The Naples market also would like additional fruit. And I'm pretty sure I do have... There we go. Fruit. So you, sir, can be expanded to produce more fruit, given, yeah, that's going to generate a decent profit. And expand the sugar operation too. Because yes, apparently that will make a load of money. So, right. What we've just done there is basically, yes, spent a huge amount of money producing a huge amount of stuff. I should probably stop now, because, yeah, I kind of noticed that at this point we're like, what is that? 8 months away from bankruptcy. But that's fine, we can always borrow money if need be. Okay, I'm very confident that what I've just done is a good thing. Probably. And oh, would you look at that. The moment we hit the following month, yeah. All of a sudden, people are happy to pay a lot more tax because they're a lot happier because of those privileges we gave them. And I'm sure there's going to be no downside whatsoever to handing out a giant number of privileges to literally everyone in society. But yeah, there's a lot of things you could choose to invest in or not. So for example, yeah, I can invest loads into stability to make that go up faster. Because these days that's not just like, you know, a 0, a 1, a 2, like in EU4. Instead, it's a sliding scale. But the higher it becomes, yeah, pops are less likely to join rebellions. And on top of that, pops will promote to do new jobs faster. That does seem like a good idea, yes. So, okay. Let's just keep a little bit of money coming in, but still invest in stability going up at a good rate. Because, yeah, that feels like an important thing. Speaking of which, yes, there's like a new purple thing up here. Rise of the Turks. So, okay, there's a special situation that the game has flagged to me saying, you know what, maybe keep an eye on these Ottomans. They might be one to watch or something. Still, for the time being, my investments are looking solid, because the price of fine cloth in the Naples market is just going up and up and up. And at the same time, I've got, yeah, my councillors working on building control in Messina, so we can tax it more efficiently and... Hang on. I think the king just died. His tutors could not make a great man out of his majesty. We hope ruling our great country well. Oh, that's not a good start. And oh, would you look at that. The Tailors Guild is done, and yeah, the economy just shot up a little bit here. I have, however, noticed, yeah, one other smaller issue going on right here in, you know, the expenses spreadsheet, which is buying food is actually at this point costing us more than diplomacy, more than stability, more than the cost of the cocky court. So, yeah, the thing about Europa Universalis is, that guy up in the top left, the king, we're not playing as him. We're playing as, like, the entire nation. And a problem that the nation is facing right now is, it's spending a lot of money buying food from the market because there's not enough local food to support the people of Sicily. So right, go over to, yeah, food by province and, okay. There's the issue right there. There's not enough food in the local province, and if there's not enough food available in a local province, people have no choice but to buy it in their local markets. So yeah, the people in this town here, they're fine. They don't need to buy anything, because there's enough food being produced at, say, yeah, the livestock farm just up the road that's in the same province as them. The biggest problem being, yeah, over here, right in the centre of the empire. Because the whole point of towns and cities is, yeah, they can support loads of people who can do advanced jobs, but the amount of food being produced goes down. But this province right here, that's a city, that's a town, that's also a town. Just out of interest, yes, is this like the only rural bit of this here territory? No, you two are both part of that province, because it says a -58 in the top right of the card there. But that's a wine, and that's salt. Now, presumably neither of those are like food. So, right, this province is like never going to actually be able to support itself. It's always going to need to buy food. The other provinces, though, yeah. We've already got a fruit to farm being upgraded over here. So, yeah, beeswax. Is that food, technically? Because logically you'd be making honey at the same time as beeswax, but... Hang on, how do I check what is or isn't foods? Here we go, a list of food raw material. So right, beeswax does count. Okay, I'm going to borrow some money right now, because this feels like an important thing to get sorted out. This territory up here is spending way too much money on, yeah, buying in food from other markets. So, yeah, fruit coming in, beeswax coming in too. This territory's not doing so bad, though... Hang on, is there anything? Yes, there were olives down here. Let's not worry about you for now, though. Let's just get, this territory up here, self-sufficient in terms of foods. Oh, I found another potentially interesting trick here, by the way, which is, what if we just fed the peasants less food? So if I give the nobility serfdom-related rights, then, as a result of that, peasant food consumption goes down. This feels like a bad thing to do, but okay, you know what? I'm pretty sure, the nobles were a bit annoyed for some reason, so you can have that privilege, that's fine. Oh, and I can also, apply reforms to the entire nation through crown reforms. So, agriculture, spot on. Food production up 20%. That we need, 100%. I'm taking that under all circumstances. But I could have one more reform as well. I think it has got to be trade office network. So, my trade range goes up, meaning I could start, doing trading with further away markets that might represent better deals. Speaking of which, right, as you build trade-related stuff, you gain trade capacity, which basically just means how much you could trade with markets which aren't local to you. You can just, if you want to, whack a market automation up to maximum, and the game will just figure out the most sensible thing for you to be buying, which might be stuff you need for your buildings, it might be stuff that generates money for you. It's hard to say. But what you can also do is just say, you know what, automate most of my trade capacity, but give me a little bit to play with. So we could sell sugar to Bordeaux. Apparently they'd be willing to pay a good amount of money for that. Though, funnily enough, sometimes it's importing that makes the most money. So for example, right here, we could get jewellery from Bruges. In the Bruges market, it could be purchased for only 4.47 gold, and then sold immediately into the Naples market for a big profit. So, take some of my manual trade capacity, and do that. That seems like an excellent thing to do. And okay, now the economy is looking rosy again, I'm going to take more loans out because, I can't help but notice there is still plenty of capacity to sell these guys yet more caulking fine cloth. So, right, as we can very easily mass produce that, just continue investing more and more into that over in Messina. Now, some of you may be thinking, but John, don't you have to pay back those loans at some point? And yes, presumably, but that's a problem for future John to worry about. Okay, I have no idea in the long run whether the trade decisions I'm making are good or bad, but I'm gonna say I'm pretty happy with what we've done in terms of this lovely sexy food provision, because Sicily's looking a lot happier right now. We're buying a lot less food from the markets. And you know what? I would say the situation with the economy is now looking pretty bloody good. So in which case, right. Looks like, for the first time, we get to summon our parliament. And as a result, we can start a debate. For example, we could start building a giant cathedral, and the priests would be delighted if we did that. You know what? I'm just going to conduct a nice census, so... while it's happening, population growth increases. If it passes, we gain a bigger pile of stability. And stability feeds straight through into, the estate satisfaction equilibrium, meaning they'll chill out at a nice happy level, pay more taxes, etc, etc. Though, legitimacy does do the same thing. That also impacts, estate satisfaction. So... we should probably put more money into that. There we go, just a tiny bit up there. The problem being, currently, no one actually cares about this, like, at all. Right now, only 10% of the people are supporting it. What I could do, though, is, toss in other benefits that other factions will approve of. So, preservation of individualistic values. We lose a tiny bit of legitimacy. And that leads to a big swing towards individualism. And also, oh dear. Certain other factions don't like that. So, okay, this is basically like, mini privileges or something. This one's okay. We lose a tiny bit of stability, but we're going to get loads of stability if this passes, so that's fine. And yeah, the clergy and the bourgeoisie do not care that much about this one, so we're going to support autonomy. Hooray for autonomy, I suppose. So that gets support up to, 35%. So yeah, basically I'm just like bribing Parliament by offering them stuff that they want, so they support stuff I want. The problem is the only new one that's shown up is, focus on land. Which I don't really want to do, to be honest, because, Navy tradition feels much more in line with where Sicily's going to end up going, but... Okay, how about we just let time pass, just for a bit, to see if, other events pop up. Maybe I can solve this by just, bribing people or something. Okay, I don't love it, but as nothing else is showing up, we will indeed focus on the land for now, getting us up to 49.35%. Okay, I don't like this, but yes, we're going to grant reduced military obligations to the clergy, which is going to reduce the size of my army. That's fine. Everyone nearby to me who wants to murder me, their army's twice the size of mine anyway, so this feels largely irrelevant. The problem really is the nobles hate that. They are not keen about this at all. So, okay, we'll get back to parliamentary support in just a second. We need to, give the nobles something so they don't hate me. Here we go, a noble patronage of the arts. So yeah, no one else really cares too much about that, though. Ooh. The bourgeoisie does a tiny bit, but they'll be back over 50% in no time whatsoever. That's fine. But yeah, that just means monthly progress towards innovation, it goes up. So yeah, we'll be making science progress faster. And at some point, when an artist shows up, we can, pay them less. And blimey. We could, now we're over 50%, start tacking additional demands onto this debate, but every single one of them costs 50% support. So we'd be back down to 18, meaning, we'd be right back where we started. Honestly, I think, let's not worry about that for now. That's fine. I'm guessing there are ways to, reduce that cost as time goes by. Right now, that's too aggressive for me. Let's just take the bonus stability and be on our way. Oh, and here's exciting and presumably historically accurate. Apparently, there's been some trouble over in Tuscany. Meaning, in theory, thanks to the fact a bank has collapsed, I could just sort of not bother repaying my debts. And if I do, my diplomatic reputation goes down. How bad is that? Just out of interest, because that doesn't sound that bad. That's not even 0.64 diplomatic reputation. Sounds not bad in the slightest. Exploit the chaos. Let's go. Beautiful. So, okay. Now we don't need to bother paying any more interest on those stupid loans, though. Gosh darn it, there's still some loans. Right, only most of them were held by that bank. But okay, now the economy is looking pretty good and we've cleared those loans off our books. I think I know precisely what I want to do now. Because, you see, there is a fairly major disadvantage to being divided as I am between two markets. Not only does it lead to odd scenarios where, yes, you've kind of got to build certain buildings on one side of Sicily rather than the other to make sure they're not in the wrong market, but on top of that, yes, there's the problem of market access. Obviously, in the city of Naples, they've got 100% access to the market in Naples, because it's their market. However, as you move further and further away from the centre of the market, market access goes down. And territories with the highest market access get to buy goods on the market first, meaning I only get to buy what's not already been taken by Naples. And it also directly impacts the output of my buildings, so as a result, I think it's time. We need to set up our own markets. Before we do though, right, just to make absolutely double sure that the food situation is under control. Because as soon as I set up my own market, that market has got to be able to support itself in terms of food. And right now, that should be a-okay. We've got plenty of food coming in. The situation is fine. Next up, we've got to create the market. So, all we do is pick a location we've got control over and say this is where the market's gonna be. And yeah, the cost varies a little bit depending on where you want to put it, but... okay, basically, yeah, the answer's about 250. Well, that is absolutely fine, just to take some loans out. Beautiful. But okay, what I want to do is not just have Sicily inside my market, as we've seen already. Markets can, you know, spread a fairly long way, depending on how much pressure they're exerting on nearby territories. And specifically, yeah, territories are like to be inside markets that they're close by to, because then they've got good market access. So, as a result of that, I'm going to put my market right on the edge of Sicily in Messina. The reason being, we are definitely going to be able to eat a fair chunk of southern Italy, taking it off Naples. Oh, and there we go. A brand new market has just popped into existence. And brilliantly, yes, we've maintained the entirety of Sicily, together with a bit of southern Italy. Maybe not quite as much as I was hoping for, mind. I will admit, though, this is a bit of a weird-shaped market right now, which is... there is food in it, but we should probably invest a little bit more into food right now. There is a huge surplus of silken marble, which, yes, we used to sell to Tunis and Naples, but locally there just isn't the demand for them. And as for wheat, yeah, there's a kind of a shortage of that right now. What we need to do is, yeah, get a little bit more food coming in to sort out that nonsense. Just borrow a little bit more money here, everything's fine, and we can afford the interests. Oh, it turns out we can't, borrow any more money, because... right, okay, so that was a bad time to run out of, like, money that we can borrow, but that's fine, we can still expand our wheat farms over here. Okay, I will admit, my fledgling market does have issues, and I don't have the money to make up for those shortfalls, so luckily, I've got a cunning plan. I'm going to sacrifice 25% of my trade capacity in order to double the amount of trade capacity that my merchants have access to, so basically, yeah, they can start doing their own trading. So, surplus luxuries, they could just sell those abroad. Meanwhile, if food gets too expensive, they could just buy it cheap elsewhere and bring it here. So, this is all going to work out beautifully. Also, I'm sure this isn't something to worry about in the slightest, but yes, a few weeks after we set up our new market and poached a significant part of southern Italy from the Naples market. So the Naples Navy's just arrived, just outside Messina, where we set up the new market. I'm sure this is not something we need to worry about, like, at all. But here's my working theory. What I do now is I use the resources of Sicily, like, for example, you know, the silk and whatnot, to produce giant piles of the finest cloth you've ever seen in your life. Then what we do is we just, yeah, let that stuff sit on the market, and then my empowered merchants will simply flog it for me all around the Mediterranean. Then they become filthy rich, I just keep them happy by giving them privileges, we tax them, and everything works out fine. Oh, and this is nice. It's not just, yes, southern Italy. My vassals over in Greece have also gone over to using my market. Presumably, yes, given they're my vassals, they just sort of do it automatically. And okay, it would appear that yes, my giant never stop producing a fine cloth plan is actually kinda working, because even though we're producing dumb amounts of it, the demand is actually keeping up nicely. Because yes, my merchants are exporting it, the Papal States are literally buying it in order to sell it on to Naples, because they still need it just as they ever did. On top of that, we're actually exporting some of it all the way to London, and my people need some of it too, so, you know what, this sort of works. Oh, and there's more we could do yet. If I now put in the policy, allow trade centre sponsorship, then, all of a sudden, market attraction starts rising, meaning we can expand even further and just do it, okay? Give the market and the merchants anything they want. Oh, and look at that. Look at that right there. Our market just grew hugely. We just ate so much of South Italy. And that's actually really good because one of the things we just ate was, flipping livestock. So that is more food inside our market. And also, that's a flipping level 4 silk production facility. I think we just cut Naples off from the entirety of its silk supply because all the silk is now in our market, not theirs, meaning, oh, you poor bastards. No. Why is there an angry red thing up here? Oh, there's a coup going on. Hang on, why is there a coup? Okay, we just need to get legitimacy up. In a hurry. Begin putting a stupid amount of money into the cost of the court, okay? We're going to put on a hell of a ball to impress everyone so they stop, plotting against us. Okay, this is gonna be fine, probably. Soon as we get back over 30, they'll stop, trying to overthrow the government. There we go. Much better. Oh, and by the way, I've kind of been, sucking up to the Pope for a while. Just, schmoozing him, etc., etc., and, as a result of that, you may just be able to, see in the distance right there. Guess who's just welcomed my market into the papal territory? And blend that with the Dubrovnica market just swinging down and eating a fair amount of territory that Naples used to control around Greece and whatnot, and these days, the Naples market is worth, about 500 gold. My market has now cocking overtaken them. And I have done that without a single shot being fired. Sicily is still the same size as it was the moment this game began. We haven't had to go to war, we've just basically played the economic game, and as a result of that, I've just created, out of nothing, one of the most valuable markets in the Mediterranean. And that, I think, rather nicely sums up Europa Universalis 5. Just a wonderful giant spreadsheet of a game where I decided to focus on, building a market, and in the end, it worked beautifully. That was a wonderful way to grow my economy, which is now looking spectacular. But that is, of course, far from the only approach. There is a huge military system I've not even touched upon. Right from the start of the game, if you can afford it, you could jump into really early exploration or colonization. You could commission works of art or lend money to other nations and basically become a bank yourself. There is so much you could do in this game, and I fear it is going to take me years to get my head around all of this. But yes, that there is Europa Universalis 5. Well worth a look, I'd say, and yes, as for me, I'm going to go away and play a lot of this to try and get my head around it, because there is a lot here. And obviously, this being a Paradox game, it's going to grow, it's going to be refined, loads is going to be added to it, but even right now, as a foundation, I think this is a really solid thing right here. So, link in the description below. I think this is well worth checking out. And yeah, at some point I'm sure we'll get round to doing a full series once it picks up some expansions or whatnot. So, yeah, keep your eyes open for that, and we shall flipping see. But in the meantime, I've been John, this has been Many a True Nerd, and this has been the delightful Europa Universalis 5. Thank you very much, and goodbye. I shouldn't have become friends with him, now I'm sad he's dead, because that's how friends work. I've just started the sexy schism. He was my brother! What? Why would you do that? You were literally the... Oh, he was the heir to inherit everything. Okay, fair enough. That's a good motive, actually. I should have been more suspicious of you.